Kalau kita nampak dia moral is sagging, you know, you can sense that dia dah not interested in studies, and kita kata berlarau-larau and things like that. Yeah, I tell them stories, and one story that I told them is about Muhammad Yunus. Have you heard about Muhammad Yunus, the banker of the poor? Yes, from Bangladesh. So sometimes you see in the hearts of our children, they feel that I'm a person. Why should I care about this? You know, why should I care about the hurt, about the destitutes? What can I do? I'm just one person. So when you tell stories about this, how one person can change the world, one person, he was just a lecturer. He was just a lecturer, but what he did was he mobilized his students, and he, I think I'm running out of time, so I cannot tell the story. But yes, Grameen Bank, one person. How the commitment of one person can change the world. Look, you are just, you know, like that person. So why do you think you cannot make a change? If you pay attention to your teacher, for instance, everything that you do affects everything else. That's how the world works. You pay attention in class, in school, the teacher feels better. If the teacher is a parent, she also treats her family better at home. So what you do affects other people, and it affects me too. I mean, nobody lives on an island. So basically, that's the message that we want to send our children. Yeah. So there are actually other ideas to inspire our children, but that is one of it. Yeah. But having said that, we need to bear in mind that the current youth, the current generation, they are different from us. They are different from us because they live in a different world. This is for the first time in the history of mankind. We have what we call Generation Y. The word Y, the alphabet Y. And they are also called Y because they ask why a lot. WHY. They want to know why for everything. You see? Because their experiences are entirely different from us. We came from a generation where we were more accepting, we were more obedient to our parents. But to them, they have to know. They have to know a lot of things, and the responsibility is on us for us to explain to them. Not everything, but certain key things that are important. You just have to spend the time to sit down and explain to them. All right? Okay. I hope that helps. Yeah. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Yeah, Puan.
I just want to what will happen to if you just talk but you never follow the talk with an action. Meaning that if you say, okay, if you do something, I will respect you, whatever, but then it never sampai do the action of spanking. So from time to time you just cakap, and then your children akan tak balik nak buat apa, tak akan buat follow up with anything anymore. Because this thing I experienced with my in-law when I got married to my husband. His nephew was like 10 years old. So now bapak dia macam tak berapa nak just cakap, tapi after that dia tinggal, dia tak buat apa-apa to that. So that boy macam tak ada guidance in that manner. So when sekarang ni last year something happened to him, and something yang dia buat something yang tak elok, and then now the father is blaming the mother because the mother tak pernah buat apa-apa mengajar dia. So I was like, why you have been talking all this while? So I have been living in that family for 10 years, but it never happened. I see the progress, and then bila something happen like this, dia marahkan pula why dia tak mengajar anak dia, which is very wrong. And then my sister-in-law lah nangis sedih lah kan, nak dia macam tu. So
How old is the child?
now he is 20 lah.
20.
Yes.
You see, this is what we call you see, when a child is very young, when you say, if you do this, I will do this. Maybe if you do your homework, I will give you a sweet, for instance. That is called bribery. Bribing, yeah? Sogok lah. What we say in Malay is sogok. So that's called bribery or bribing when a child is very young, which some parents do. But of course, logically, we know that it's not going to work anyway, because the bribe gets bigger and bigger. So this is certainly not an effective way of parenting, and that's one. Number two, as Puan pun dah notice, the consequences were never done, and the child of course knows very well no action is going to be taken, so it's totally ineffective. But when you have a husband and wife together, it's very important for the husband and wife to be on the same page. You see, one of the rules of parenting is you can disagree with your spouse, but do not disagree in front of the children. I'm not saying that you cannot argue. By all means, there are certain things that you don't agree with your spouse, with your husband or your wife. Yes, by all means, talk it out. But as long as you are talking it out in a civilized manner, it's okay. But in the sense that don't disagree, maknanya if your husband does something you don't agree for the disciplinary action that he's taking, for your child, for instance, it's best as much as possible for you not to say anything. When the child is not there anymore, you talk it out later. You see, number one is to save face for your spouse. Number two, it's very important for the child to see that he cannot use mom against dad, dad against mom. Okay, that's very important. So kalau tak setuju, kemudian tu cakap macam tu, and let the father deal with it with the child. Yeah, whoever the parent has been dealing with that matter before that, to come to the child again. Oh, actually, ayah rasa I was a bit, I did the wrong thing, whatever. Let that parent deal rather than you step in. That is another thing. So sebenarnya bila dah age 22, it's becoming more complex sebenarnya, Puan. It's not something that you can settle overnight. You cannot. Yeah, one of the rules of disciplining is that it takes a very long time, and there's nothing that you can do to fix it in a few days, because it's just like orang dah sesat jalan, ya. It takes time for you to be lost in a forest. You will need time to get out again. Yeah. Ada lagi soalan ke?